Now we can move on to the last section, which is all about quantitative data collection. So this is numerical data which can be analysed using statistics, telling you what, where, when, and how often. Variables are manipulated to determine the effect of one thing, the independent variable, depending on something else, which is the dependent variable, showing a clear relationship or correlation. Objective facts is all objective facts, so there's no opinions. It's more just like solid pieces of correct information, and there's no space for interpretation. It says what, where, and when, but not why something happens. For example, why the person missed an open goal from 5 yards out. It tells you what happened, but not why it happened. So there are several types of quantitative collection methods. Just like with the qualitative methods, there are observation and questionnaires, but in quantitative data collection there are also field and lab-based experiments. So the first one that we're going to look at is observation. This could be done using sheets of skills, and then a tally is done to work out when a specific skill is performed. For example, in football you could have skills such as a short and long pass, headers, tackles won, or shots, for example. You would do how many of them they have attempted and how many were successful. Or it could be done using videos to analyze the data after the game. Advantages of this is that it shows what the player is good at and what they are not so good at, so where they can improve. If they were able to observe 1 week and then again several weeks later, the two sets of data could be compared and therefore show improvements over a certain amount of time to see if the targets are being met. Also, it shows everyone's contributions to the game. For example, in football, everyone will immediately praise the goal scorer, or if the goalkeeper saves a penalty. So the main highlights of the game. However, this method will highlight if someone has made only successful passes, or never gave the ball away, or won every tackle they went in for. So it could be used to praise for jobs that they have done within the game. Disadvantages of this is that it can be time consuming, especially videoed performances when they are being analysed. Loads of people might be needed if filming isn't done, as they would have to analyse a player each, because one researcher can't possibly watch and note the skills performed by every single player on the team. If the researcher isn't educated within the sport, for example, doesn't know what certain skills are, for example, if someone doesn't know what a layup is in basketball, then they might miss when this skill is performed, and therefore collect incorrect data. Also, there are some ethical issues with observing someone's performance. This is because they can either be disclosed or undisclosed. Undisclosed is where the participant is aware of the fact that they are being analysed, whereas disclosed is where they aren't. So there are issues with regarding the fact of the lack of consent given by the participant. Just like in qualitative research, quantitative research can also be done in the form of a questionnaire. Advantages of using this method is that questions can be specified so that the researcher is collecting the exact information that they need. It is also quick to perform and is less biased because the researcher isn't there to potentially sway the person to answering the questions in the way in which they need it to be answered. Also, with this, they may feel more pressure if the researcher is present whilst they are answering the questionnaire, as well as this person answering the questions. They will have more time to read through them and reflect on their answers so that they can be as truthful as possible. Whereas if the researcher was present, then they may feel rushed. Disadvantages of using questionnaires in quantitative research is that depending on the questions, the questionnaire might not give the data as in depth due to there being no opportunity for follow-up questions. For example, if the person answering the questions states an answer that intrigues the researcher, it is too late because the researcher isn't physically there so the researcher can't probe for any more information out of the person being questioned, so data can be quite at a shallow level, and they could also end up misinterpreting the questions answered by the participants, which would either result in them not answering the question or giving a guess, which therefore is a false answer, um, which means that validity and reliability would be heavily reduced. They may also feel as though they have to be dishonest and twist the truth in order to give the answers that would benefit this certain piece of research or please the researcher and make them look better, which is basically what social desirability is. So now we're going to be looking at the different types of experiments that can happen within research. So first we're going to look at lab-based experiments. So within this method, the collection of data will be within a laboratory. Some advantages of it being within a lab is that there will be expensive technical equipment, which means that the data collected is going to be much more accurate and reliable, as the researcher is clearly trained enough to perform the study within a lab. Also, with all this equipment, it makes it easy to control variables and show clear effects that independent variables have on the dependent variable. Disadvantages is that this describes what some people may think when they are working in the presence of others. So performance may chance, as they know what the researcher is looking for, so they want to impress the researcher by changing their behaviour or performance to fit what the researcher is actually doing in their research. This decreases the reliability and makes the results incorrect. This again is similar to when we speak about their demand characteristics, showing characteristics different to the ones they would usually show, which is down to the fact that they want to impress the researcher. And then the last one is a field-based experiment. This is where the collection of data is in the natural environment of the sport. An advantage of this is that the researcher witnesses the participant in their natural environment, so they're actually playing the game or doing the sport, for example, doing an experiment on a running track rather than in a lab on a running machine, which increases the ecological validity, making it more real, because the lab sometimes has an artificial situation which can create disadvantages. Some disadvantages of doing field-based experiments is that some variables may be uncontrollable, for example the weather. So the wind could have an effect on how fast someone can run or how far they can throw a ball. Also, equipment availability may not be as advanced as if it was a lab-based experiment, so this may make it less creditable to other researchers. And that is the end of my video, so thank you very much for watching.